I'm Brian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Stoke from Evolve Skateboards. This isn't going to be an in-depth technical review. If you're interested in the tech specs, you can read them online just like I can. They're all there. What I'm planning on doing is talking to you about the difference between riding a longboard like the GTR and riding a shorter board like the Stoke. The GTR is my go-to ride and has been for a couple of years. The Stoke is a very different ride and I've just gotten one. So I want to talk to you about what it's like and what the difference is going from the longboard to the shortboard. So let's start with the Stoke. One of the first things I noticed when I got this board was my stance. Getting up onto the board, I was expecting to have a much narrower stance on the board, but what I discovered was that my feet are essentially the same width, shoulder width apart, as they are when I'm standing on my GTR. And I'll show you what I mean. If I grab my trusty plastic hockey stick, put that on the front truck, and then measure back to where my rear foot is, that's about halfway along the head of the stick, and then transfer that over to the GTR, you can see that it's essentially the same distance. So what does that mean? Well, what it meant for me was that I hopped up onto my Stoke with my legs shoulder width apart, and off I went. I was expecting a similar ride, similar behaviour as what I would get on the GTR. But of course, the difference is the wheelbase. It has a much shorter wheelbase, and instead of getting that much broader, wider, longer carve and the much stabler ride when you're travelling in a straight line, what you get is a shorter, nippier, faster, more manoeuvrable result, basically. It took me a little bit by surprise, and it's probably something to be aware of if you're thinking about getting the Stoke. This board is a playful board. It wants to carve, it wants to turn, and it doesn't really, quite honestly, want to ride in straight lines. As soon as you get on it, you have an immediate desire to start carving. Hard to explain, but it's there. So that's the ride experience. And that stance and that setup and how it's different from the longboard is something to be aware of if you're thinking about getting one of these. Let's talk about some of the other physical characteristics of the board. Obviously, there's the kicktail. In the last couple of years, I don't know how many people I've seen online asking Evolve for a short electric board with a kicktail. Well, in September last year, 2019, Evolve delivered, and boy did they deliver. I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to master using the kicktail, but I'm looking forward to it. And in the week that I've had the board, I've already discovered just how much fun it can be as you manual off curbs and use the tail to turn yourself around. It's a lot of fun. What else is different? Well, the GTR comes standard with 97mm wheels. On the Stoke, they're 85mm cargo arms. Now, that diameter is only slightly less, but it's worth noting that the 97s, the curbs, the bumps, the cracks, all that kind of stuff that you go over, on the 85s, you've got slightly less tolerance, and it's caught me out a couple of times. It's not a major, nothing significant to worry about, but just something to be aware of. The other thing when you're looking at getting the Stoke is there's 3 different geometers you can get on the cargo arms. Blue, which is the softest, orange, which are in the middle, and purple, which are the hardest. So have a think about what you want to get. Standard on the Stoke is the bash guard. You can also now get these for the GTRs, which is very cool. Obviously that protects the motors when you're manualing, and also the back of the board. It takes about a 30-degree angle on the board before you touch the guard. The rest of the setup is pretty much the same as the GTRs. The only difference is that there's a riser on the front and the back. And this obviously gives you a bit of a height between the wheels and the board. And when you're thinking about the wheels, give some thought to the size of the wheels. If you go anywhere above the 85s in terms of the diameter, you're probably going to have wheel bite on the sides of the board. So I'd stay on the 85s or something smaller. If you do go higher, you want to think about tightening your trucks up to reduce the chances of wheel bite, because you come off pretty quick if you do. The last thing to talk about is the battery. This is the travel battery for the GTRs, standard battery on the Stoke. This is 151 watt hours, which means it's flight friendly with airline approval, which is very, very cool. It means this board can go where you go. For me, as an 80-something plus rider, 80-something plus kilo rider, this represents about 15 kilometres worth of travel, which is a really good distance. And that's pretty much it. The Stoke in 5 minutes, or thereabouts. I haven't mastered the board yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be my new go-to ride. I've already noticed that as I exit the house to go and get some beersies or pick up some groceries or just do a quick run down to a mate's, The board that I'm reaching for, that fits nice and easily in my hand, is the Stoke. Happy shredding, team.